Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today on Latakian's Noor Kitchen we're gonna make Palestinian Musakhan, which is nothing but chicken with onions and sumac. Yeah, that's right. If you ask any Palestinian what's the national dish, they would say Musakhan. And this is without a doubt one of the top 5 most delicious chicken recipes ever, maybe top 3, which is a shockingly simple recipe, but despite its extreme simplicity, this is the most beautiful, delectable chicken dish you will ever eat. And now we can go ahead and get started with a little segment I like to call Meet the Onions. And in addition to some yellow onions, we'll also be using some red ones, so try to find those if you can, or any kind of onions, all work here. And we can't do an onion chicken recipe without reviewing how to dice an onion, which, as you might know, starts by cutting off both ends, after which we will of course remove the skin. And you need to repeat that just until you finish the whole quantity, where I used about 3 pounds nearly. And then we go ahead, cut the onions in half and slice it in a slightly big pieces, just like that. And I know you're thinking now, oh, that's a big amount of onion. I mean, no, it's not, because once all of those beautiful onions cook, they will start to shrink as they release the moisture. And by the way, as long as these pieces are roughly the same size, we're gonna be good. So don't worry about the shape, worry about the size, where you can go ahead and cut them in any shape you want. Right, this for you to dial in depending on what you're going for. I mean, you're after all the Mike Tyson of your onion dicing. So as I've mentioned, you can decide on the size, and then what we do once our yellow onions and red ones are exactly how we want is we'll prep our chicken. And for this I like to use 5 to 6 pieces of the bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs. Oh, and I should mention, the original recipe is done by cutting up a whole chicken, but for me, the thighs are the most user-friendly choice. And we'll head to the stove where we have a large skillet set over high heat, in which we have a couple teaspoons of vegetable oil, and we go ahead and we'll transfer in quarter the amount of the onions, not all of it, quarter the amount. And what we do here is saute these onions until they soften up, and once these onions are sauteed, we go ahead and toss in our chicken. At that point, my skillet was not big enough, so I used only here in this dish 5 pieces, and throw in 1 thigh in the fridge so I can use it another time. And as we did that, we can go ahead and toss in 1 teaspoon of salt along with 3-4 pieces of bay leaves, in addition to 1 teaspoon of ground cardamom and freshly ground pepper. Last but not least is a generous amount of sumac. I used nearly about 3 tablespoons. You can go ahead and use more if you want. And that's it. We go ahead and cover this tightly, and we will let it simmer gently for about 1 hour. And about halfway through, if we can remember, I think we should uncover and go ahead, turn those over, and besides just giving them a flip if you wanted to move them around a little, okay, you could do that as well. And whether that does anything or not, who knows? It is fun to play with your food, especially when it's still on the bone. But anyway, we go ahead and flip, and we'll pop that lid back on, and like I said, we continue cooking that for a total of about an hour. And while waiting for that to happen, we'll saute our onions. We'll bring a pot and go ahead again to the stove, where we set that over medium heat, in which we will add 1 generous cup of virgin olive oil. And yes, here it should be olive oil, not vegetable oil. And to that we move on to transferring our onions along with a generous amount of salt, a pinch of black pepper, along with 3 tablespoons again of sumac. And what we do here is saute our remaining onions until they're super soft and caramelized, which, as you might know, we do at a low heat, where they will shrink down significantly, and that will take a while, nearly 30 minutes. So stir occasionally and enjoy the process. And don't forget to taste and add some seasoning if needed. And that's it, we're done now. And the chicken is done too. So what I'm trying to do here is taking away those chickens so I can take the juices and add them to the onions. And please do not, under any circumstances, forget to add those accumulated juices on the blade back. Okay, we bait for those juices and we're gonna use them. Plus, they add flavor, so never discard those despite taking away the bay leaves. Last step is gonna fry in some almonds, and all you need to do before is simply boiling that with water and then peel them and fry them until they get golden brown. And that's it. Now let's move on to assembly. And before starting, we'll need about 5 loaves of pita bread, or any bread that resembles this kind of bread is gonna work. And what we do is put in a baking sheet in a pan, so that will help us later in transferring the food to a serving dish. And once everything is here, we'll take 1 loaf of bread and toss in our onions until it starts to soften up, at which point we can kind of press it down with our tongue, submerging it down into these juices the best we can. And what we do once we have that pressed down as shown is transfer that into our baking sheet, on top of which we can transfer a generous amount of onions. And once our onion layer is done, we go ahead and transfer the rest of the bread after soaking them, and top that with onions too. And then to finish these off before it goes into the oven, we're gonna go ahead and put our chicken thighs to the top. And once that's set, we go ahead and transfer that into a sheet pan, since there is a real possibility of a bubble over. Now it's ready to transfer into the center of 200 degrees Celsius oven for about an hour, or until it gets golden brown. And once we're done, if everything goes according to plan, our chicken should look something like this. And then you don't have to, but I'm gonna toss in a little bit of chopped parsley so the tops are nice and shiny for the pictures. And then for a final touch, this is traditionally sprinkled with roasted almonds. And that's it, our chicken musakhan is ready to enjoy. I made a salad next to it in the shape of a Palestinian flag, as this recipe belongs to Palestine, and we really should let this calm down a little bit before trying to eat it. But I was starving and I couldn't wait, so even though it was too hot and I knew it was going to be hard to cut into the dish, I went in for a taste anyway. And that, my friends, as I mentioned in the intro, is one of the most delicious chicken dishes of all time. And the best way to eat this dish is by putting a piece of chicken above this delicious bread, take a bite, and enjoy. Thank you, Palestine, for this dish. May God help and protect the people there. May God ease their pain and suffering. My heart is with you. Thanks for watching. And if you liked my video, please make sure to subscribe, like, follow and share so it can help me get more people to reach Latakian's Nor Kitchen. See you later.